I opened a hospital bill addressed to me, the kind of bill that gets automatically forwarded to insurance, and saw a procedure code I didn't recognize alongside the words Therapeutic Termination and a date that was exactly 1 week before. A week I'd spent in San Francisco for my company's quarterly summit. A week when my husband, Derek, had said he was working late on the Morrison account. The patient notes read, "Patient presenting with marital stress. Procedure completed without complications. Patient discharged same day. Follow-up appointment recommended." The signature on the authorization form wasn't mine. My name is Katherine Morrison, and I was holding a hospital bill documenting a pregnancy termination that I didn't have at a hospital I'd never visited, with a signature that was clearly forged. And my first thought wasn't about the procedure or the hospital. My first thought was about the woman I'd suspected my husband was sleeping with for the past 3 months. Let me back up. Derek and I had been married for 7 years. We met in college, dated for 4 years, and got married at 27. We have 2 kids, Emma, who's 5, and Jackson, who's 3. We have a nice house in a good neighborhood. Derek's a financial analyst. I run marketing for a healthcare software company. We're the kind of couple that looks good on Instagram, which is ironic because our actual relationship had been deteriorating for months. I knew Derek was having an affair. I didn't have proof, but I knew. Wives know. We know the way our husbands smell when they come home. We know which nights they work late, and which nights they're actually meeting someone else. I knew Derek was meeting someone else on Tuesday and Thursday nights, and he was lying about where he was going. I'd been planning to confront him about it. I'd even called a divorce attorney to understand my options. But then this hospital bill arrived, and everything changed. I called the hospital's billing department immediately. My heart was absolutely pounding. "Hi, I need to verify a bill I received," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's for a procedure I didn't have. And the signature on the authorization form doesn't match my signature." "I can help you with that," a woman named Patricia said. "Can you give me the bill number?" I read it off. There was typing, then silence, then, "Okay, I'm looking at this. The procedure was completed last week. The patient signed in under your name. But let me check the ID that was presented at check-in." More typing. Then, this is interesting. The ID that was presented matches your name and address, but the description doesn't match the patient who arrived for the procedure. The check-in staff noted, "Patient appears to be different race and age than ID photo." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "They noted that?" I asked. "Yes, we have a note in the file." The staff member flagged it, but the patient insisted it was her ID, and sometimes people look different than their photos. The procedure was scheduled and completed. That ID was forged. Or stolen. That wasn't me. I was in San Francisco when this procedure was done. "Do you have documentation of that?" "I have hotel reservations. I have credit card receipts from the conference. I have work emails sent from my corporate account at 2 p.m. that same day. I can note that in your file. And I'm going to flag this with our administration. This is a serious issue. Someone presented fraudulent identification and had a medical procedure under your name. That's identity theft." I called my lawyer, Victoria Huang, immediately after hanging up with the hospital. Identity theft, medical fraud, and potentially something else depending on what the mistress's motivations were, Victoria said after I explained everything. "This is serious, Katherine. If she was trying to hide a pregnancy from your husband, that's one thing. But if she was trying to frame you for terminating a pregnancy to damage your marriage or your reputation, that's another thing entirely. What do I do? First, you're going to document everything. Get copies of the hospital bill, the procedure notes, the ID verification issue, everything. Second, you're going to have a conversation with Derek. Not to confront him about the affair, though God knows you should do that eventually. You're going to show him this hospital bill and ask him if he knows anything about it. What if he knows? What if they planned this together? Then you have a much bigger problem. But I don't think they did. My guess is that the mistress did this on her own. She was probably trying to hide the pregnancy from Derek, and she was trying to frame you as the villain in case it all came out. I hung up and sat in my kitchen for a very long time. Then I called Derek. "We need to talk," I said. "Tonight. After the kids are asleep." "About what?" "In person. Tonight." Derek came home at 6 p.m. We did the normal routine, dinner, bath time, bedtime stories. Then we put the kids down, and he followed me into the living room where I had the hospital bill laid out on the coffee table. "What's this?" he asked, his face going very pale. A hospital bill. For a therapeutic termination. Dated last week. While I was in San Francisco. Addressed to me. With a forged signature. Derek sat down slowly. Katherine, I don't. Did you know Brittany was pregnant? He flinched at the name. So it was Brittany. I'd suspected it, but having it confirmed felt like a physical punch. How did you? The hospital flagged that the ID used to check in for the procedure didn't match the patient. So I called and verified. Derek, your girlfriend used my name, my address, and a forged ID to have an abortion. She's committed identity theft and medical fraud. And I think she was trying to frame me. Derek stood up abruptly. I need to call her. No, you don't. You're going to sit down and you're going to tell me exactly what's happening. And then you're going to understand that you have a choice to make, me and your family, or her. But you don't get both. He sat back down. He looked absolutely devastated in a way I'd never seen before. I didn't know she was pregnant, he said quietly. I swear to God, Katherine, I didn't know. But you knew you were sleeping with her. Yes. How long? 3 months. It was a mistake. She was at a conference and I was vulnerable and... I don't care about your justifications. Did you know she was going to do this? Did you know she was planning to use my identity to hide the pregnancy? No. I promise you, I didn't know. I didn't even know she was pregnant until just now. I believe him. I don't know why I believe him, but I do. Derek is many things. A cheater, a liar, a man who violated our marriage vows. But he's not the kind of person who would orchestrate medical fraud. Brittany, though? Brittany was exactly the kind of person who would do something this calculated. You need to contact her immediately, I said. You need to tell her that I know what she did, and that I'm pressing charges. Katherine, don't. Don't what? Don't press charges against the woman who stole my identity and used my name for a medical procedure? Don't report the fraud? Why exactly shouldn't I do that, Derek? Because it'll destroy her. Good. She deserves to be destroyed. She committed felonies against me. Derek reached for his phone with shaking hands and called Brittany. I listened to his side of the conversation. Brittany, Katherine knows. She knows everything. The hospital bill. The forged ID. All of it. Yes, she's pressing charges. I don't care that you were scared. You committed identity theft, Brittany. You used my wife's name for a medical procedure. I can't help you. I can't protect you from this. You did this to yourself. He hung up. Then he looked at me. I'm sorry, he said. I know that's not enough. But I'm sorry. For all of it. I filed a police report the next morning. The case went to the state attorney's office because it involved multiple crimes across state lines. Brittany had used fraudulent identification from another state, and the procedure was performed using my identity without consent. Brittany tried to claim that Derek had approved her using my identity, that he'd given her my social security number and authorized the procedure. Derek denied it completely, and the hospital had no documentation supporting her claim. She was charged with identity theft, forgery, and fraud. She eventually took a plea deal and received 18 months in prison plus restitution for the costs of the fraudulent procedure. Derek and I went to therapy. We had very difficult conversations about trust, infidelity, and what it means to rebuild a marriage after betrayal. Ultimately, we decided to try to work it out. Not because I'd forgiven him. I hadn't. But because we had 2 kids who deserved parents who were willing to do the work. We're still married. We're better now than we were during the affair, but different than we were before. There's a certain wariness that came with the betrayal. There's a careful distance. We know each other's capacity for dishonesty now, and that changed something fundamental. What struck me most about the entire situation wasn't Derek's affair. It was Brittany's calculation. She didn't just make a mistake. She didn't just panic about her pregnancy and use the wrong name. She deliberately forged an ID, deliberately used my name, and deliberately documented it in a way that could have destroyed my reputation and my marriage. If Derek hadn't been honest when I confronted him, if he'd claimed that I'd had the procedure, it could have created serious doubt about our marriage. It could have made me look unstable or dishonest. It could have affected custody of my children. She weaponized my identity and my medical autonomy to hide her own pregnancy from my husband. And she did it so deliberately that I have to believe she wanted me to find out. I think she wanted to cause chaos. I think she wanted to damage my marriage and my reputation. The fact that Derek had been cheating on me made her bold. She knew he'd be conflicted. She knew he might protect her. She was counting on the fact that I'd be so shocked by the affair that I'd miss the bigger crime. But I didn't miss it. And I reported it. And she went to prison. 2 years later, Derek and I are genuinely happy again. We're not the same couple we were before. That couple was naive and took each other for granted. We're a couple that's been through fire and chosen to stay together anyway. We talk about what we learned. Derek learned that infidelity is a choice, not an inevitability. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. And we both learned that people can surprise you with their capacity for deception and calculation. Brittany was released from prison 6 months ago. As far as I know, she's living in another state and working as a consultant. I don't think about her often, but when I do, I'm grateful that the hospital staff flagged the ID inconsistency. I'm grateful that they took the time to note that something seemed off. I'm grateful that I trusted my instincts enough to ask questions. Because if I hadn't, I could have been framed for something I didn't do. My reputation could have been destroyed. My marriage could have ended on her terms instead of on our terms. Identity theft isn't just about credit cards and financial fraud. It's about someone stealing your medical autonomy. Someone using your name to make decisions about your body. Someone trying to damage your life by weaponizing your identity. And that's a violation so profound that it changes you. It makes you hypervigilant about your personal information. It makes you question whether people around you are really who they claim to be. It makes you understand that the world is full of people willing to hurt you to get what they want. But it also makes you stronger. Because once you've survived someone trying to destroy you through your own identity, you realize there's very little that can actually break you. And that knowledge? That's worth more than the marriage that nearly fell apart. Because now I know I can survive anything.